Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining me for this second segment of Can I Get 5 Minutes? And last week I said that I would be doing these segments from a variety of different locations. And today I'm sitting in the back seat of my car. Now, some of you might say, well, why would you do it in the back seat of your car? Most people would do this sitting in the front seat of their car. Well, just a few short years ago, I wouldn't have been able to sit in the back seat of my car. I wouldn't have been able to get on an airplane and ride on an airplane because I suffered from this little thing called claustrophobia. A few years prior to that, I had gotten trapped underneath of a house and felt like I couldn't get out and just scrambled, and just a panic came over me, and I was trapped and I was in a tight place, and it was just something that I couldn't take. There just came a point where something had to shift there. Something had to change. And I was shown something in the Word of God. In 2 Timothy 1:7, it says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And when I read that verse, I saw that God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. So fear is a spirit. And spirits talk. This spirit was talking to me. It was talking to my mind. It was saying, man, you're crazy. You can't do this. You can't go down in these small, tight places. You'll get trapped. You'll go crazy. And it just felt like, you'd have butterflies in your stomach like 1,000 times, and just overwhelming fear would come upon me. And I had to ask myself, what is fear? And because the devil tries to use it to get us to not do the things that God's called us to do, not accomplish things that we know that we can accomplish. And I kind of looked that up. I said, what is fear? And it said that it's an unpleasant emotional state in response to perceived dangers, real or not. And this emotional state, it crippled me for years. And until this idea of fear being a spirit leaped off the page at me, it would have continued to cripple me. And so I began to look at this, and I thought, okay, I got to get over this. I got to get over this. And when the Bible said that fear is a spirit, well, the Bible also says that in Luke 10:19 that I have power, I have authority over devils and demons and over all the power of the enemy. So if I've got authority over these spirits, the spirit of fear, it's something from the devil, and over all his works, then that means that I have authority. That means that I can overcome this through the power of Jesus, the power that resides on me, that power that raised Christ from the dead that resides in me. I can be set free from this. So I took God at His word. And one time I was sitting at in our home, we had a crawl space, and we had a dehumidifier down in the crawl space, and the dehumidifier kind of went on the blink. And I thought, man, I got to go down there and I got to fix this thing. I got to get it. And so I'm sitting at the top of this hole by this crawl space, and Carrie's sitting in the other room, and she sees me, and she knows what's going through my mind. He's sitting there thinking, I just don't know what I'm going to do. I can't go down in that crawl space. And he can't go down in the crawl space. So I'm sitting there at the edge of the crawl space. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, well, I can call my son-in-law, Doug, and Doug can go down in there and get that. And Doug, he knows how to fix everything. But he can go down in there and get that. But he lives an hour away. And so am I going to call him, wait for an hour for him to get there, to crawl down into the crawl space, get this dehumidifier and bring it out, and then have to drive an hour back home? Or am I going to overcome this fear with the authority and the power that resides on the inside of me? And so I said, you know what? Enough's enough. God, you said that I had this authority. You said that you haven't given me a spirit of fear, but that you've given me a spirit of love and power and a sound mind. And so I take a hold of the promise that you've given me, and I'm going down in this crawl space. And so I go down in that crawl space, and I'm down there for a while. Carrie's getting nervous because I'm down there for a while. And so she starts calling out, what's going on? Are you okay? And I'm not saying anything. Finally, she comes over to where the crawl space is. You either need to answer me or I'm calling the fire department. And so I finally answered and said, I'm all right. I'm down here working on this dehumidifier. I'll get it running in a minute and I'll be up out of there. From that day forward, I never suffered from claustrophobia ever again. But it was me taking what the Word of God said and realizing that fear is not from God. Fear is from the devil. We all have dealt with fear at some point in our lives. And when we sense that fear, when we sense fear coming upon us, we can know that it's the devil. It's not God. God said he's bringing power and he's bringing love and he's bringing a sound mind. And as believers, when we realize that love, power, and sound mind come from God, we can also realize that fear comes from the devil. God good, the devil bad. And we have authority over all the works of the devil. And so I get on airplanes now. We just flew to Hawaii back in October, and we were on the plane for a long time. It was like a 10-hour flight, whatever it was. And I was all stretched out, having a good time. And now, sitting here in the back seat of my car, I can not only sit in the back seat of my car, I can lay down in the back seat of my car. I can take a snooze in the back seat of my car because I know the authority that resides on the inside of me because Jesus is on the inside of me. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me for this 5 minutes here today. And I'll see you next Monday on Can I Get Just 5 Minutes of Your Time? Thanks for joining me.